Welcome to this free immigration help channel. In this video we will yet again talk about the family immigration, specifically when you file I-130, petition for alien relative. Now if you are familiar with the process, most likely you are if you are watching this video, you submit the petition with USCIS. Once it is approved, it is transferred to the Department of State, NVC portal for further processing. Once you are documentarily qualified and the immigrant visa is available for your beneficiary is invited to the US Embassy for the final interview, where upon successful completion of the interview, they get that immigrant visa, which is actually a temporary permanent residence card. Once your beneficiary comes into the United States with that temporary permanent residence card. I know it's two words, temporary and permanent. It actually becomes a temporary permanent residence card once it is stamped in the airport here in the United States. And then upon about 90 days from then, they do get the actual permanent residence card, the green card, in the mail. But in this video we will concentrate specifically on the interview. What kind of questions they ask. I will give a few examples in this video, but more so, instead of just giving you random questions, right? Because there can be thousands of different variations of this question. I want to give you the core essence of basically the idea behind the interview in general. What is it that US consul or whoever is taking the interview is trying to establish? What is the criteria for them to issue that immigrant visa? Well, technically it was already issued because now it's available, but it's still up to the consul. I mean, you submit all these background checks, all of these documents, all of these financial sponsorship documents, then the medical examination, all of that stuff is being done. I mean, people wait for years, and then you go to the interview and you get denied. It happens, and it happens more often than you would expect after a lengthy process like this. And why it happens? It happens because people are unable, during the interview, to establish this few different criteria. Okay, so I have USCIS.gov open in front of me. I'm gonna switch to the travel.state.gov, which is the official website from the Department of State. And basically, this is our family immigration. You can start the family immigration petition if you're either a permanent resident or a US citizen. If you're a permanent resident, you can invite your spouse and your unmarried children. If you're a US citizen, you can invite spouse, son or daughter, parent, brother or sister. So your options are a little bit wide open. Now I have done a separate video specifically where I talk about the timelines for different categories. In fact, I will do every month as the new visa bulletin comes out. I will do every month updated timelines just to stay kind of up to date on those priority dates, on just the visa bulletin in general. So we're not going to talk that much about this. In this video, I'm going to break down the beneficiaries into two different categories, so it's easier for you to kind of follow. And we're not going to break it down between the permanent resident or US citizen. No, we're going to break it down to children, whether US citizen or permanent resident, parents, brothers and sisters. And then a separate category is going to be spouse, whether it's permanent resident or US citizen. And the reason why I'm breaking down this into two, you will understand it very, very quickly. I'm going to start with the son or daughter, parent or brother. It's because whenever it comes to your children, your parents, your brothers and sisters, really to establish the relationship, all you're doing is just submitting a birth certificate. That's really it. Birth certificate for your children, showing that you are the father or the mother. Birth certificate of yours to show that your parents are your parents who you are inviting. For brothers and sisters, birth certificates of both, and then of the parents, showing that it's really your sibling. Very straightforward. Establishing, basically documentarily qualifying to establish that relationship between son or daughter, parent, brothers and sister, right? So whenever it comes to the questions asked during the interview, and I'm gonna open this page right here so you kind of have, and I will put the links in the description below so you have access to them if you want to check them out. In fact, I do recommend checking out this page. So as you can see, the applicant interview is actually listed as a step 11. After the interview, there's really not much. You're just coming here. So applicant interview really is the pretty much the last most important kind of step. Very, very important. So let's talk about the questions that are asked whenever it comes to children, brothers, sisters, and the parents, right? In whatever order. You already established the relationship with the documents that you have provided, all the birth certificates, all that good stuff. You already established the relationship. So the only thing that really needs to happen, that the consul, whoever's taking the interview, needs to establish are the intentions of the beneficiary to immigrate to the United States, how serious they are about moving about, because it's an immigrant visa. You're immigrating to the United States of America. Your beneficiary is immigrating. How serious are they? And by how serious, I mean obviously how to establish that. It's questions like, so where are you going to live in the United States of America? What are you going to do in the United States of America? What is your, whoever the petitioner is, whether it's brother, sister, or son, daughter, or father, mother, what are they doing in the United States of America? So they are basically trying to establish your intentions to immigrate to the United States of America. Are you serious about immigrating? Because if you go there, if the beneficiary goes for an interview and they get asked a question like, for example, so, you know, where are you going to live in the United States of America? And they pulling out these papers and they're trying to find the address. Wait a second, let me, I had the address for my brother or for my sister. I'm going to stay with them. I don't know, you know, showing basically indecisiveness. That shows to the consul, to whoever is taking the interview, that the person who is being interviewed, they might not necessarily have that series of intentions to actually immigrate to the United States of America. And it is a problem. It is a problem for a consul because they are about to issue an immigrant visa, something that a process basically that is designed for people who have the intentions to immigrate to the United States of America. So that's number one thing. That's the intention. That's the questions surrounding the intention. Obviously, how to prepare for these questions. You have to be ready to answer questions like, why are you going there? What are you going to do? What are your plans? 6 months, you know, what are you going to do after you receive the actual green card? What is will you be doing the same thing you were doing, for example, if it's an adult and they are working, let's say they're working for the factory, they're manufacturing something. Are you going to do the same thing in the United States of America? Right? So all of these questions surrounding the intention. So in order to prepare for these questions, first of all, if you really do have the intentions, you're going to have the answers for all of this. So you really don't need to worry about that. But regardless, I would recommend actually building a plan. So it's not just, oh, I'm going to go for an interview and I'm going to be polite and I'm going to be professional, but I will also have a plan for the next year. I will go to him, and I mean, obviously, you know, if you know, it's God is in control of everything, right? So no matter how many plans we build, it's going to be played out by God's plan, right? So it's just really for showing that we are serious at the end of the day. It doesn't matter whether you believe in God or don't. You can always, you know, build up your plan for you if it makes you feel comfortable. But for this interview, regardless, this is something that you need to do because it helps establish that immigrant intention. Another set of questions that will be, this is the whole kind of a separate, is to establish the sponsorship. And that's also very, very important. And it is a little bit, in a way, connected with the first part of the questions that establishes the immigrant intentions. Because whenever it comes to establishing the sponsorship in general, so that you're not reliant on the US government, that's why that's why you have to sponsor your beneficiary. If you don't make enough money, that's why you have to provide a joint sponsor to show that in case if the beneficiary who comes here, right, once they come here, in case if they experience financial hardship, they don't depend on the US government to provide for them. They depend on the sponsor, the joint sponsor, the petitioner, all right, most of the times in the application. So whenever it comes to sponsorships, that's all the documents basically that you submitted to the NVC. The beneficiary will have to have them with them. Not only that, they will also have to have a basic understanding of them, meaning that they have to be more or less not necessarily experts, right, in how to navigate the tax return, tax transcripts, but more so understand what these documents are. Because all of these documents, you have to bring the beneficiary, right? If you're the beneficiary, you're watching this video, or if you're the petitioner, you will have to tell the beneficiary that they will have to bring all of the set of documents that you have submitted to NVC for processing to the US Embassy, because all of these documents will be reviewed during the interview, especially financial documents, especially tax returns and tax transcripts. And the beneficiary will have to have basic understanding of what it is, of where stuff is at, of, let's say, how much the main sponsor, let's say, is making a year. There you go. Open the tax transcript. Oh yes, there you go, sir. This is the location of the, right? Basic understanding. Very, very important. Most of the immigrant visas are denied during that step 11 applicant interview because there is a missing document or something. Even if it was submitted to the NVC, if you cannot provide the document and kind of navigate it, right there, it already shows that, well, maybe your intentions to immigrate are really not that strong. Maybe you really don't have the intentions to immigrate that much, because if you did, you would have all the documents and you had the understanding of the documents and navigation. Because if you think about it, at the end of the day, once the beneficiary comes to the United States of America, once they immigrate, guess what? They will have to live like everybody else here in the United States of America, filling out the tax returns every year and doing all of the good stuff, right? So it's part of the process. It's part of the way showing that you really do have the intentions to immigrate. Okay, so two things really, the intention to immigrate and the sponsorship financial documentation whenever it comes to children, whenever it comes to parents, and whenever it comes to brothers and sisters. Obviously, there will be questions about the relationship, all right? Are you still in good relationship with your brother, sister? Are you still, close relationship with your son, daughter, with your father, mother? Definitely, there will be questions like this. However, the reality of the relationship has already been established by the documents. Keep that in mind. Unlike, now let's move on to the spouses. Unlike whenever it comes to the spouses, and the reason for that, unfortunately, is the amount of immigration fraud that is associated with marriages, with spouses in general. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people that still, it's a really, really bad idea to do a fictitious marriage, a fraudulent marriage, basically for the immigration purposes. It's a very, very bad idea because most of the times it doesn't work out. Most of the times, and even if it does work out, eventually you will have problems because of it. All right, it really is not worth it. But because there is a large amount of immigration fraud whenever it comes to marriages in general, spouses, whether it is for permanent residents or for US citizens, they do get a lot more questions. Besides the financial stuff, besides the immigration intentions, but specifically questions whenever it comes to testing the reality of that relationship, unlike children, unlike brothers, sisters, unlike parents. And whenever I talk about the reality of the relationship, I talk about some weird questions that there really might seem like a weird question. If your relationship is real, it will definitely feel like a weird question. It's like, why are you asking? Like, for example, like, did you meet your wife for the first time during the wedding, right? For someone who's really married and been married and you know, it most likely will be like, what? Why are you asking this dumb question? It makes absolutely no sense. But these questions are asked in order to catch, really, to catch someone if they're lying about the reality of that relationship. These questions are designed to catch. Questions like, for example, hey, where did you guys go on the first date? When did you guys first meet? What is your wife's favorite perfume? What is your husband's go-to place on the weekends, right? What does your husband like to eat for lunch or for breakfast? Questions, the answers to which only a real spouse will have the answer to, right? You know, if somebody asks you, you know, you're watching this video, if somebody asks you about your husband or your wife, hey, what'd you gift your wife for Valentine's Day on 2023? Of course you're gonna know this question, you know, the answer to this question. It's easy. But if it was a fictitious marriage, if the relationship is not real, well, I mean, you can come up with something for sure on the fly, but again, it's you know, you get into that territory where the chances of going through that interview are really low, and eventually stuff like this, it always comes out and bites you in return. But now you know. Now hopefully I was able to give you not just questions, because I mean, you can look up, there's a lot of information out there in the forums, in attorney websites, basically giving you a set of questions. Can you prepare to all of them? No, you can't. But if you understand the idea behind these questions, what is it that the consul is trying to establish during the interview, that's it. It will be easy for you. And really, there's three things to summarize it all in the conclusion of this video. Immigration intentions, the reality of the relationship, right? If the relationship is real, and the financial sponsorship documents, which are connected between all of them. There's a connection between all of them. If you can establish this, it will help establish this. If you talk about this, it also connects to all the other two. But in example with spouses, you have a little bit more accent on the reality of that relationship. So hopefully I was able to help you with this video. Let me know in the comments below if you have any questions. Every other day I try to make a video. It's called Answering Your Immigration Questions. Right now we are on volume 23, so the next one is going to be volume 24. And basically what I do is I start a video like this and I open up your comments here. I have them listed all the time, open. Once there is a few comments that I can answer, I go through them and I answer them basically in video like this, and then it goes live. And then during the live premiere, you can ask the questions in the chat box, and I can answer them in the real time over there as well. Before I let you go, this is not a legal advice. I'm not an immigration attorney. As you can see, all the information that I provide is directly from the official government sources like State Department of State and U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services. Also wanted to say thank you for all the supporters of this channel. If you would like to support this channel, you can do it using the Super Thanks feature right underneath this video, or you can join the membership of this channel. Both of the ways, they do help this channel to grow, allows me to dedicate more time into making this video and hopefully helping people, helping immigrants, potential immigrants who have the immigration process currently going. So as always, thank you very much for watching. Always appreciate your time. God bless, and I'll see you in the next video.